So I'm standing here with Luis Suarez at the Social Business Forum in Milan, and also a question to you, Luis. The key theme of this conference is about from social to business. Does this already reflect the reality within the E2O project?
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for having me here today, and I'm glad to see you that you have come along as well. I think it's interesting. I think that one of the things that I have seen today is a little bit different of what has happened in the last 2-3 years. Certainly, there's a lot more of an approach to social business to enter the business world, and it's becoming a lot more integrated into the day-to-day workflows. It's more integrated into business processes, and is more integrated into how we get things done. What's happening, though, is that it's actually taking place because I suspect that all of the people who have been doing social business have actually, in a way, given up a bit and have actually come closer to the business without the business having moved out whatsoever, a single inch of what has been happening. So it does seem like we have been, to a certain extent, assimilated. I mean, we all have been advocating about change. We have all been advocating about openness, about transparency, about business processes made social and everything else. And yet we see businesses not opening up, not changing, and us adapting to business. So we probably need to think about going back to basics on how we started and why we started this. And that if we want to change, we need to keep pushing, not being assimilated.
So if we talk about about who are you talking about? The social business evangelists?
I'm talking about the social business evangelists. I'm talking about the early adopters. I'm talking about the first wave of people who thought they could make a difference, who could change things, who could actually get other adopters, who could get other, laggards and Luddites to think like, yes, I can change, or I can influence the way you can think about social business. I'm seeing how plenty of the original buzz is starting to die off dangerously. And I'm saying dangerously because if it dies off, we will never recover it. So that's why I'm sort of like thinking that we need to probably bounce back and say that we need to keep pushing on the messages. And now we have got a lot more people interested overall in social going to business than we ever had before. It's just when we need to refocus and repurpose our initial goals, which was basically change the way businesses do business, making it much more open, transparent, collaborative, both internally and externally.
But do you really think that projects that are not really aligning with business objectives at the end and that are not really getting to the final stage, that they are still stoppable?
I think they are still stoppable. In fact, I think that the business has got it very clear. If you cannot prove to me the business value, you're wasting your time and my energy and my resources. So I think that
the lion already set loose from the line, so I cannot stop the people who are already engaged on any platform.
That's true, but you cannot stop them right off like you would have stopped them. But there's something at the end of the year that only businesses do that can act as a showstopper, which is employee yearly performance and evaluation. If you have got a core set of business objectives, and if those are not matched to social elements, that employee is going to get hit one time, maybe hit a second time, but on the third time it's going to realign to that business performance of that individual, because otherwise it's not going to be able to pay the bills at the end of the day, right? So certainly, people will keep using it, but what we're saying is we're going to see that transition into work is work and social is social, which is why, we had a couple of presentations here today, for instance, where we were being shown the huge impact of social media, right? And I'm saying this locally in Spain, for instance, right? Spain is in the top 3, top 5 countries with the heaviest use of social networking tools outside, right? But it's for personal and private use, right? Now, when you go and ask people why they do it, it's because they go and say, yeah, well, work is work and social is social. I cannot bring social into work because my expectation is that on my evaluation performance, no one is caring about how I contribute, how I collaborate, how I actually help others, how I become social in the way of how I contribute, right? And what they're saying, well, if I don't see that, why would I bother? Whereas the personal gain is there. You know, it allows them to stay closer to their friends who are dispersed all over the world. It allows them to stay in touch with their family if they're relocated to whatever else. So they see that personal benefit. Now, when you try to translate it into business, it's not happening. And that's when businesses can have, in a way, the conversation back to say, you know, it's good that you do all of this social, but at the end of the day, there is your employee performance. If that does not adjust to what I ask you to do, you're going to be going for it, in the sense of you're going to be, I'm not going to say suffer from the consequences, but certainly it's going to have a significant impact on the employee productivity.
Normally, I just asking two questions, but this is, in my feeling here, a very pessimistic statement. So, how can we get out of this dilemma?
I don't think it's pessimistic. I think it's very realistic. I mean, people who know me, I'm not negative or pessimistic or whatever. In fact, if I would have been, I would have left a long time ago. But what I am is I'm very realistic, and I get to talk to lots of various different people inside as well as outside with customers and business partners, and you can see how that excitement, that wave of excitement, is probably not dying off. If you don't want me to be pessimistic, it's probably not dying off, but it's certainly fading away, right? So to bring that optimism back is we need to bounce back. We need to jump off. This is like when you're playing an NBA game, right? Where you have got two teams and one of them wins by 30 points, and then the next day what they do is that they say that they need to bounce back and they win by 20 points themselves, right? That's what we need to do. We need to bounce back into the game to say that we need to be patient enough, we need to be resilient enough, we need to believe in our own vision of what we thought was changing the game for social business, and realize that we need to make it happen. And that way is us, knowledge workers in general, going from all the way at the bottom, but also all the way to the top.
Great, thank you.